them of who speaks first. And the Jedwards are obsessed with their Twitters and email. And before Obama got to say anything, one of the Jedwards said to Obama, "Who's the most famous person you ever met?" And the other Jedward said, "Sure, he's the most famous person you ever met." Anyway, that was there was other stuff in there, but I won't touch it. I was just thinking when Lisa was talking earlier on, one of the reasons that the appointment of Ambassador for Culture in the United States means so much to me is because I am so incredibly proud of our culture and who we are as a people and what we have contributed to the world. And when people hear the word culture, they say, culture, what's that? The arts, what's that? Well, actually, it's our singing, our dancing, our stories, our sense of humor, our painting, our architecture, our crafts, everything that goes into the expression of who we are as a people. And there's no need to list the amount of amazing people who have represented Ireland abroad, and that everybody, before they get off the plane, is already preceded by our reputation, our cultural reputation. 150 years ago in Ireland, approximately, we were all speaking Irish. And W.B. Yeats reimagined a new Ireland, where he said that if Ireland was to survive, it had to learn to communicate in English. And in 150 years, Ireland, that small country, that tiny country, gave the world the greatest poet of the 20th century, the greatest novelist of the 20th century, and the greatest playwright of the 20th century, Beckett, Joyce, Yeats. And then you mention Heaney, O'Casey, Goldsmith, Wilde, all the ones who go back to that 1850 and those years. Before that, we had an entire culture that stretched back to the pre-Christian era of beautiful poetry, of incredible storytelling, of incredible music. That's who we are. But we're also a tremendously compassionate country. And I remember once meeting this Indian man, a Native American Indian man, and he told me a story which stuck with me. In 1847, 2 years after the Irish famine, which was an event that devastated our country, it was a Holocaust, the country went from 8 million people to 3.5 to 4 million overnight. That immigration out of Ireland changed the history of America. It's arguable that it didn't change the history of the world. In 1847, a group of Irish immigrants, famine immigrants, were going through Minnesota in the coldest winter in memory, in 1847, and they came across a group of Indians, Choctaw Indians, who were making their way from their homelands that they had been expelled from to a new part of America. They called it the Trail of Tears. And when they met the group of Irish people who had been expelled, they were so moved by their plight that between them they collected $5 for the Irish, these Irish people who had been forced out of their country. And it was an act of communal compassion, a group of strangers for another group of strangers, just because they were human beings. And it stuck with me. And that man comes back to Ireland every year. And